Welcome to another episode of World of Faceting Machines. Today we're in Whitby, England, exploring the history of jet cutting. Jet is a biogenic gemstone that formed 180 million years ago from fossilized wood deposited during a period of extreme global warming. One of the most famous sources of jet is the coastal town of Whitby in northeastern England. Jet has been used and revered in Europe for 26,000 years, though Whitby jet appears about 5,500 years ago. The Victorian Jet age began in 1830 with the death of George IV, but Queen Victoria is most synonymous with jet as she was to wear it for 40 years following the death of her husband Prince Albert in 1861. Whitby was the center of jet manufacturing in England, and the lapidaries developed specific techniques for polishing this soft black stone. To step inside the world of Victorian jet cutting, I've joined Sarah Steele of Ebor Jetworks, who's the world's foremost authority on Whitby jet, and Imogen Redvers-Jones, a third-generation jet cutter and one of the curators of the Whitby Jet Heritage Centre. The Heritage Centre is a museum and time capsule that contains a perfectly preserved jet cutting factory from 1867. The workshop was discovered by chance in the attic of a derelict property in Whitby. A local builder purchased the property, and during the course of renovation, he knocked down a wall and discovered the workshop, which had been completely sealed inside the building. The workshop was relocated to the Heritage Centre in the 1990s and has been memorializing jet cutting ever since. Imogen, a third-generation custodian of the museum, walks us through the workshop and its operation.
So I would say if we were making like a brooch, you would start at the foreman's bench, and he would prepare the jet. So you've got the rough jet with the shale being cleaved off. Whether or not it needed cutting, it would have to go down to the other end of the workshop to be cut. They added the carborundum to add like a grinding, polishing element to the cuts. You can see this lead chisel, very heavy. That was for cleaving. Once you've got an approximate size, it would come over to the grindstone. So these are Kimmage sandstone. You've got your trays of water underneath. So they were bringing them up from Dorset, and you've got two thicknesses, so I think that's to do with
how big the piece was?
Yeah, and so you would shape it, so say if you're making an oval brooch, you can get your oval shape roughly on this, and they would be wet. They would go into the sawdust box, and that is where they would wait to dry off. Then if they were going to be carved, cameo, anything like that, it would come across to the master carver's bench. He didn't just work for this workshop, he probably would have worked for a few because they are the most highly skilled and the fewest in number. The tools left here are rubbish because we think that the master carvers would take their tools with them. So they were very basic. They're sort of like small chisels and files and blades, but they were made from things like cartridge knives. They weren't custom made, but I think if you figured out a tool that did a certain cut, you would want to keep that to yourself. It would go through the polish process. So you've got the rouge wheel, you've got a walrus hide wheel with the lamp black and the linseed oil, and then you have the woolen cloth with the scouring cream made of the Derbyshire Rottenstone. Yeah, woolen cloth.
So it's just layers and layers of wool that are basically felt together.
It's nice and rounded, isn't it?
And then you have a pig's bristle brush, again, for getting into all the nooks and crannies. Need cutting or faceting, because that's what these wheels were for. Cutting and faceting. Your carborundum powder is added to give you like a grinding aspect as well as a cut. And also they would have files, so if you wanted to put a sharper edge on your wheel, you just take your file to it and sharpen it again. And then you've got polishing. So this walrus hide wheel, I think, is the most important polish for the faceters.
Yeah, it's going to be the only flat, hard
surface. Oiled linseed oil and lamp black, and that was for the flat areas. So that was applied to the walrus hide.
All the machinery in the workshop is operated by a foot-powered treadle. The cutter was able to control the speed of their laps by the speed of their foot, giving them a lot of control over their cutting. The stations would have been illuminated by gas-powered lanterns, and the remnants of these can be seen in the gas pipes on each station. The open flame would have been protected from the flammable jet dust by a glass bulb on top. The workshop would have been kept warm by a wood stove, but this also has a lapidary function which Sarah explains.
When you put your mould on top and then you melt your lead, they put a layer of antimony on the edge somehow, didn't they?
Yeah, they just sprinkled
to sharpen
it
up. Yes, they could keep remelting their laps.
After seeing how the jet was cut, I was interested in seeing where the Victorian miners would have gotten the raw material, so we took a trip out to the beach to see some Victorian mines. Here, Sarah explains where the jet forms in the cliffside and where both Victorian and modern jet miners looked for the now rare material.
We're stood on the grey shales, and then obviously that's the top jet dogger, which you can see really clearly with the like whale stones and all that lot. And then you've got the bituminous shales, the alum shales, the cement shales, and then at the top is the dogger, the saltwick formation. So that's the entire stratigraphy of the Mulgrave shale member. And they would come down here, mine when the sea was out, and then they'd have to dig. If this happened, they'd have to dig it all out before they could even get back to the Ilford deep, 150 years on.
So this is a Victorian jet mine.
That's nuts. Brilliant.
We set about looking for newly washed up jet on the beach and were not disappointed. So we found our first piece.
It's very weathered.
The last of the old line of jet cutters died in the 1960s, and much of the old techniques have been lost. But thanks to a new generation of gem cutters and carvers in Whitby, like Sarah and Imogen, the jet cutting industry is discovering new ways to cut and polish jet with modern technology. Thanks for joining us, and check out some other exciting episodes of World of Faceting Machines.
To the center, funny like a funeral. I need you.